So good to see you, Jackie.
You as well.
You are like right next door to the Broadway.com office
Like
in
we're
Chicago.
sharing a wall.
Yeah. I walk by Chicago every day. How's life as Mama Morton?
It's great, actually.
Yeah, it's a good gig.
Can't complain.
Yep.
She's a cute little, as they call it, a park and bark. I literally walk out, sing a song, do a scene, sit down. It's great. My knees love it.
Couple great songs.
Yep.
People love Mama Morton.
Yes, they do.
Did you like think about this role? You first played it briefly last year,
Last
right?
year. I think it was like a month after Smash closed.
Right.
So I went in for 5 weeks and then I left to go do Working Girl in La Jolla.
Right. Which
And I came
saw.
back. Oh, yes, you
Yes,
did.
I did.
remember
Yeah,
that.
yeah. I'm following you.
I know, thank you. And then I came back end of January this year.
Right. I mean,
Or last year.
the Broadway grind. I mean, like something
It's
like
real.
Smash, right? You do you spend all that time building a brand. And by the way, I'm so thrilled to be here with you because I've interviewed you
That's right.
on a poster.
Yes.
But this is like a good official.
You went through that whole scenario with us. That
Yeah,
was a long day.
Yeah. We did a big photo shoot for the Smash poster, and the entire thing was just me interviewing you or Anita, your character.
Yes.
Yes, but you look fabulous, and you're on my wall.
Oh,
Yeah. I look at you every day. But you think of something like that where everyone's working their butts off trying to make this new musical work. For whatever reason, it doesn't click. It doesn't get a long run. And then you see something like Mama Morton, which just feels like such a great gig and also just a level of comfort. It must have been really nice to get to go into something like that.
it has been. People have been trying to get me to sing and play Mama Morton since I was probably like 30.
Uh-huh.
And I didn't feel seasoned enough to do so.
Okay.
So it has come around in my life some years later, where I actually feel like I can settle into it, and it's been really, really wonderful.
Yeah, that's interesting because the great thing about Chicago has been running so long that all these roles, we've had this great range of performers, and you see them all on the wall now.
Oh, yeah.
When you go backstage,
This wall.
there's literally
Yeah.
a wall, and your name is on the wall.
Which was cool.
Yeah.
That was my favorite thing.
Yeah, it's really
I
awesome.
was so excited to have my name on that. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's very cool. It's like history. I love that. But you really see the scope of performers and ages and races and all types of people. But Mama Morton, there is something about like she does kind of have to have that.
Yeah, I think she has a different kind of bravado about her.
Yeah.
I think she not only is she statuesque in any form. That doesn't mean you have to be tall or, a larger bodied person.
Yeah.
It just means you have to have a certain amount of confidence within yourself
Yeah.
to be able to, you're running a prison. Like, let's talk about it, right? You are running a prison, and it's a male and female prison.
Right.
Like, when they walk across in the second act, it's like everyone's going back to their cells. And you're just standing there as the most intimidating factor for them, but then kind of, but then not. They can talk to you. It's a really, really cool character to play and get to like really dive into. You can make her pretty much anything you want except weak. That's it.
Right.
That's what I think,
Right.
personally.
Right.
I don't know if she was written that way, but they tend to like my take on it.
And she gets a great range of emotions too. I mean,
yeah.
like when the whole Hunyak scene, right? That's
yeah.
It's very, very moving and
Hunyak
funny
broke
and
me the other
sexy
night.
and
I almost cried.
yeah.
I almost fully cried. One of the swings went on, and they don't get to do it a lot, right? So she goes on and she has very deep thoughts that she's thinking, and her eyes welled up. And she looked at me, and it was like I was her mother breaking her heart, and it killed me. I was like, can't cry. You have a whole speech of introducing her. You can't cry. Also, the show should never go all the way there like that, So that scene takes me out. But I think my favorite scene is like one of the one-on-ones with Sophie Carmen Jones when I tell her that the tour's been canceled. It just moves so quickly, and Sophie and I have been in Moulin Rouge together, so we have this kind of banter, and then I love singing Class with her.
Yeah.
Class is so fun.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone even understands how fun Class is, and if you've only ever seen the movie, it's not even in it.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So sometimes to some people it's a shock that song shows up.
Yeah, it's like, well, they added a song.
Yeah, that's what they think.
No, they cut a song.
They fully cut a song for the movie.
But also what's great about being in Chicago is because the performers change so often. I mean, I know Krista Rodriguez, your Smash co-star, is now playing Roxy.
Yes.
Mateo Lane just joined as Billy Flynn. So you're always getting new people to play
Yes.
with. And every time I see it, it feels so fresh because you can't just get settled into
can't.
what you're doing.
And you have to be able to, you have to be the kind of actor that can take direction, but also ebb and flow with your fellow co-stars, right? We just got Krista in a week, Mateo, Red came back. 3 major principles that you have to figure out how their show, the rhythm with their show is. And it doesn't mean you give up your own. It just means you start to ebb and flow with one another and you figure it out, you know?
Yeah. And I also love just the backstage, like even when I see just like the crew, there's just a real settled family vibe there, which is really lovely.
It's very cool, including the band. I've actually never, well, let me think about that. Yeah, no, I've never been in a show where I see the band like that. They're on stage, they're characters. Actually, the other day I was like, do you guys get like paid to do this too? Because, you know, at the top of Act 2, I give them a full-on introduction, and they stand and they get their due, which is very cool.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
I love it. We love the Chicago.
Yeah.
We love it. There it is.
We love it there.
You reminded me of the first time I ever saw you, you played just Diva.
Yes.
That's the first time.
Diva 1.
Diva. Literally, the character name is Diva in Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, which was that a wild show to be a part of? I mean, when I think back...
Are you kidding?
I mean, when I think back to Priscilla, I literally think, did that really exist? Or did I dream that show existed?
Do you ever think it was before its time for Broadway?
I mean, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because that's what I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Just, I mean, you know, in the, well, first of all, just people were still sort of struggling with the jukebox element, right?
Sure.
Of bringing in popular songs to tell a story. And then, I mean, the queerness of it and just the fabulousness of that cast and the trans story and so many things there that I feel like would be definitely received differently.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So when I auditioned for it, well, started to, I was actually quitting the business in 2009.
Wow.
I'd moved back home to California. And I happened to like go on Actors Equity, and Priscilla, Queen of the Desert was one of my favorite movies. And if you remember, at the same time, Tu Wong Fu had come out.
They both
and
were the same time.
Everybody wanted to do Tu Wong Fu or look at that, and I was like, no, like it's a bite, off of this movie. And I was like, oh, there's no way I can't go back and audition for this. And I feel like I stayed with a friend to audition for it. And I fought tooth and nail to get that job. Like, only because like dancing wise, I can dance, but if you're not a regular, everyday, you take class dancer, it takes a minute to get the steps sometimes. And I was feeling so bad about myself, but I just kept forging on. And I'll never forget, Andy was the choreographer. He was like in my face, come on, girl, you can do it. And I'm like the giant in the room too, you know, like I'm 5'10", and I'm in there with Anastasia McCluskey, Rasheed Scott, like all these women that just are like, yeah, I got it, whatever. And he was on me. And boy, did I worked my butt off for that call. And I didn't even know what I was doing. I hadn't seen any footage. Y'all, we weren't really messing with YouTube like that. Well, I wasn't.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that it had been, I knew it was Australian, but I didn't know it had been on the West End and all that. I booked it hard. Later, they told me I was the first person to book the gig.
So you were Diva. Is Diva, and Mama Morton's obviously a Diva role, is that a natural state of mind for you?
I would like to believe that I'm much more humble than that. But yeah, probably. I mean, I definitely don't walk in a room and cower. You know, I'm definitely who I am, and I'm very secure in who I am. So if you take that as Diva, then so be it. I just call it confidence.
Well, I mean, that's how you have a career. I mean, that's how you survive in an industry like this.
It is.
And so before you said you were about to quit the industry.
Yeah.
That's wild for me to hear because, like I said, that's when I first discovered you. Although I know that you were in the Benny tour of Ren, maybe the legendary Benny tour.
Yeah.
You were Joanne.
I was.
And that was your first like big gig?
That was my first big gig. I was in a show called Bright Lights Big City at New York Theater Workshop.
I'm obsessed with Bright Lights
Shut
Big
your
City.
face.
I didn't know you were in it. I know that score by heart.
Oh my God. If you remember the Statue of Liberty, that was me. going
Yes.
across. And
Oh my, are
it's
you
so
kidding
funny.
me? I saw that.
Costume was insane.
Oh my
Yeah, so
God.
that was
Coma
my
Baby,
first.
all the madness.
Yes.
Oh, I know every word of Red Lights Big City.
Wow, you know it better than I do still. My God.
And then, of course, the legendary song, I Just Want to Have Sex Tonight.
Absolutely.
Actual song title.
Actual song in a club. I mean, that show was crazy. Yeah.
Odeon. Oh, I know that show.
Odeon, yes.
I didn't know you were in it.
Yes, I was 25 when I
Okay.
got that show, and I
Wow.
moved here to do that.
Michael Greif.
Michael Greif.
So
I had
Michael Greif
auditioned
gave you
for
your
Rent,
first gig.
and he was like, "I have another show for you," and I was like, "Okay."
So you got right onto that. You got onto that Michael Greif,
I
Bernie
did.
Telsey path.
I did. I did.
Which,
I have to
at that
be.
time,
That was very,
that's what
very cool.
everybody wanted to be in favor
Yeah,
with
I
Michael Greif
mean-
and Bernie Telsey.
I didn't have an agent. Telsey's office, Bernie, Heidi at the time, Heidi Marshall, and Craig all helped me get an agent. She was awesome. I didn't know anything. I was green as they come, man.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
And so then
incredible.
I got that, and then that ended, and Michael came or called and was like, "Hey, can you come back and sing for Tim Weil?" And I was like, "Sure." So I came, I sang. I was doing a production of A Midsummer back home, and I was like, "You guys, I can't finish. I got to go on tour." And I met the tour in Chicago,
And then you did Hairspray.
and then I did
right,
Hairspray
on the road, and you covered
on the road.
Motormouth. Right.
and the Dynamites. Yep.
And you probably thought you were too young to play Motormouth.
I didn't care.
Oh, yeah.
I've never really had that. You know, I feel like tall and statuesque can read. You can always age up. You can't age down,
Right.
you know? So I go to get fitted mostly for all of my costumes for Hairspray, but like my motor mouth stuff, I knew that. And then
I
they
love
go,
those costumes, by the way. Beautiful. Yeah.
and they go, "Well, let's try on your Dynamite." And I was like, I don't cover a Dynamite. That's not in my contract. And they were like, "It sort of is." And out of nowhere, I was a Dynamite. I didn't know, it wasn't written in the contract yet. They had to give me an addendum. It was a whole big thing. But it was really cool, and I was petrified of going on as a Dynamite. I was more comfortable being Motormouth because I was like, 3-part harmony, I got to remember 3 different things, and I don't know that I'm cut out to be an understudy or a swing. I know I'm not cut out to be a swing.
It's a tough life.
That's a hard job. God bless the swings.
Yes.
I'm not her.
Yeah. You need to know what you're doing.
I need to know what I still run my lines every day. Yes, I do. I say all my lines in a row.
Well, so now that you just told me that you were one of the Welcome to the 60s
Yeah.
girls, it makes me, I have to ask you about being a harlot. When were you a harlot?
Oh.
Bette Midler. When did that happen?
I was a harlot in 2015 for her last, I don't know if it's her last album, but For the Girls.
Oh, I saw you. Yeah.
And so we did like some promo stuff here, and then we went to London, and we did a couple of shows there, and that was really awesome.
What was that like to be a harlot?
was
I mean,
crazy.
that's iconic.
That's maybe one of the biggest dreams of my life that ever came true, to be honest with you. Like,
Yeah.
and being on Hairspray, I had met Charlotte Crossley, who was one of the original
Okay,
harlots.
yeah.
And I was like, wait, that's kind of a cool job. Then I know Camille Marshall, and she was a harlot,
Yes.
and then ended up doing Vegas. I had auditioned for Vegas and stuff, but she really needed someone else. I mean, at one point I walked across and she was like, "Just hire her to walk." Like I walk like she likes women to walk. And Bette Sussman, her MD, was like, "Absolutely not. We're not wasting that voice. She would have to sing." And then it came full circle, and I did this little tour with her.
Wow.
And that was very, very cool. I learned a lot about the industry and being a woman in the industry and everything being solely on your name and what kind of pressure that looks like. And I got to work with Toni Basil.
Wow, yeah.
Which was super cool.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
She choreographed all those shows. Yeah, yeah. Oh my God.
And I was back with Mark Shaman again as well.
Right, right. Look at everything you've done.
I know.
I mean, do you ever just like let yourself sort of have those moments and like look at all that?
Occasionally, you know, when I have it is when I'm cleaning out my phone book in my, like the numbers, the contacts, and I go, whoa, if somebody got a hand on my phone, they'd have a lot of people's numbers that they should not have.
Yeah.
And then I realize I am very, very blessed. I don't think I'm not talented. I'm talented, not taking that away. But luck has been on my side.
Yeah, so how do you sort of look at your career now? You know, you're obviously doing this fabulous showcase. You're parking and barking, and you're singing class, the new song. Where's your head at about ambition and like what you would like to do?
I think now I've moved into my principal world and I enjoy it.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that I'm above anything.
Right.
You know, like I told you earlier, I went and did La Jolla, and that was a featured.
Right.
Now, Equity came and deemed it a principal track, sure, because we were the secretaries on stage all the time. I just want to do work that feels good to me. And I'm sure a lot of people say that. But I also want to do work that inspires other people. And if that means I'm playing the mom, that's cool, because I'll never forget going to see Hell's Kitchen, and the dad and daughter scene took me out personally. And here I am, this, you know, grown woman who does this as a living, and I still was moved by that. And so you can still touch people, and I hope to always do that in the rest of my career, whatever that may be. I also would love to direct one day, but you know, we'll see what happens with that.
Cool. I love it. I want to see all of it.
Okay.
I'm into it.
You're on my card. Come on, let's go.